So, hello to all egg types of Void Crew. Hello to our entire community. This is our first vlog, and I want to say the reason we're doing this is to get closer to the community, talk a bit more about what we do. We want to talk more about what we're focusing on right now, and we hope to do that with these videos. It's fair to say that in Hutlihut Games we're an indie game studio. We don't make videos for a living, so we want to get better, and we're probably gonna experiment with the format as we go along and learn more. Please give us your feedback as what you like and what you would like to see even more of. Here with me on the couch today, I have two of the 5 partners of Hutlihut Games. First of all, we have Daniel, our creative director.
Hello, everyone.
We have Laurits, our lead game designer.
Hello.
And before we start and go further, I want to give a shout out to Fuki from our community, who's pushed us and suggested we answer more questions, and we're doing that in the vlogs here. Also, a big shout out to the moderators we have on the Discord. Thank you very much. That helps us a lot in what we're doing. We've gotten a lot of input, a lot of feedback, and it's fair to say that there's quite a lot to read through and follow. Thank you very much for all the good feedback. We're trying hard to read all through it, to understand the intentions of it, and discuss it internally on how we can kind of build it into the game in the vision we're working on. So let's get on to it. About all this, the vlogs. So Daniel, maybe you could say what's the intentions with these vlogs?
Thank you, Benjamin. So it's kind of the point, right, with an early access is to take a game and just get it out there and see the feedback, the inputs, how people react to it. So for us, this is part of that journey, is to create some transparency for what we're working on. And vlogs is part of that solution. So we have a vision, of course, with Void Crew in terms of we want to take it during early access. And we need to know what does players get excited about. So that's part of that journey. We're still, adapting a bit to all the feedback that Benjamin talked about, and how do we make sure that we get the right feedback and respond to it and digest it to get it into the game.
All right. So I know that we've been really, really busy up towards launch. A lot of things have happened. So we get the question from the community, what's going on at the moment? What are you guys working on?
So after the game launched, of course, and met the audience proper, we also had to look at ourselves and the way we played the game and realize that by now, just by the act of developing it, we had turned into probably not the best players, but we were very good at playing the game, obviously, and we knew all the ins and outs of what was going on. But what we can then see is that when the game hits an audience, people get confused and they get frustrated and they get annoyed, and fortunately they also get vocal. So again, we're working on the feedback that we're getting about the annoyances that are present in the game and how we can make it a more smooth experience. Part of that was also, there was a clear feedback that the game needed a safe space, basically. The flow of the game does the intensity part very well, but people were asking for a room to breathe. And that's what I'm working on currently now. We are looking at the void jump and how that works, and revamping that a little bit, while still trying to retain the intensity that's present in the game when you're escaping an objective. We still want that where you frantically have to ask someone to either leave the helm or come running up to the helm room and set the exit vector. That part still needs to be in there, but then once you're in the void jump itself, there's actually room to breathe. And then, of course, also because these things happen in void jumps and in Void Crew in general, What happens when things go wrong? Because things need to go wrong also.
And it does.
It does.
What?
It will go wrong. It will go wrong.
If it can go wrong.
It will go wrong.
Yeah.
It will go wrong with horrible consequences.
That's right.
I think there are two things I'm working on right now. One is, of course, assisting Lars as well, but also the graphics around getting the transitions to work between, because instead of just being, going from A to B, we want that place where you feel safe also to feel serene, to feel that this is a safe space. And I think when people are very overwhelmed, in general, they tend to become more narrow-sighted because they're more focused on a task. And this safe space should enable them to relax and open up their vista again, so they come in with new opened eyes.
And then obviously also because Daniel is a greedy person.
No,
not at all.
I wouldn't use greedy.
Constantly reminding me that we have also more things we want to do, and that the void jump and the entire user experience around, of course, should support those things, even though we're not putting them in exactly now. So I'm constantly designing also for a much bigger picture than what lies in
Evangelist for a future.
Yes, that's
Futurist, yes. That's better than
Evangelist, yeah, that's
evangelist
great.
for a future. Yeah, I like it. And the other discussion is, of course, something that has also been brought up on the community is difficulty. It's something we are discussing and trying to figure out how to do it in the right way, so we get the right kind of difficulty and not just harder for the sake of being harder.
Yeah, that comes back to what I said also initially about us being good at the game. We thought, of course, we were good at the game, but then the game hits the community and turns out that we were probably just mediocre, and that our sort of assessment of what insane difficulty wasn't really that insane. Yeah. It was quite sane.
It's been very impressive, I would say.
Someone that the guy who played solo.
Yeah.
Insane. That was interesting.
That was shout out, big shout out for that.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're just changing the name of all the difficulty levels. So insane will now just be called sane. That's the fix.
So sounds really exciting. So so much work has been done so far, and it looks like or sounds like much more exciting stuff to come. So up until now, what have been so far the most challenging things?
Oh, that's a big one. I think the thing that constantly surprises me, at least, is the topic of communication. Mm-hmm. Both obviously between players, but also in the game towards the player. The amount of text and backup systems and so on that we needed to get in place to communicate how game mechanics work and how they link together. That's been really surprising, and it comes quite late. Design-wise, we started out by finding the fun in the game and also designing for that. So we find the situations that we think are fun, but also because we do that, obviously, while sitting next to each other, we end up discussing that and solving it as a team. But it also means then that when you're presenting that fun to somebody external, they don't have all of the onboarding in place for how to enjoy it, which is also why it's so nice to be live with an early access title, because it means that there is that understanding between players and us that we are of course going to iterate on what comes back, and it means that the audience being vocal about what doesn't work or what they find confusing is 100% the thing that we need to make the game ready for the full launch. And then I think also just, a multiplayer game and the design task of balancing for 4 people and sometimes 1 person has been a large one.
Right, yeah. What about you, Daniel? What's your perspectives on most challenging parts?
There's quite a few.
So many.
I'm going to pick one. I think being on the evangelist for future features and stuff, picking what was the core loop. And isolating that enough to say, this is what we think makes the game fun, without all the other stuff that I also want. But just making that very solid and making sure that that is something we can build on. We can add more to it, we can add more loops, we can add more complexities, but people are having fun at that core, and making sure that we build on it and not detract from it.
Yeah. So, another question that has come in from the community is, What's an egg type? What is that actually then?
I'm gonna give you that one.
All right.
How did we end up framing that? An egg type is a meat person. I think already, obviously, we developed the lore also while developing the game. So the two things go together. Part of the challenge of Void Crew was this thing about what happens when you die. Because you are going to die often and horribly.
Oh yeah.
But how do we establish that continuity with the player, that they died, but they're also somehow alive back on the ship? And that's where the concept of the egg type comes in. So the egg type is an immortal clone warrior in the sense that they keep dying and they also very much experience their death. But then they are reincarnated in the sarcograph, the meat printer. The egg types are the foot soldier of the Metzum organization. So yeah, they're flesh people. Disposable flesh people.
All right.
For the greater cause.
Exactly.
Very good. All right. So, another question many in the community have wondered is Metzum. What was the origin of Metzum? Or what is the origin? Everyone loves an origin story. Yeah. So what is Metzum exactly?
So Metzum is it's become its own thing, but it came from the word metempsychosis, which means a transferal of the mind. So that fits very well into the whole concept of you being able to rebuild yourself inside the sarcograph.
We build the lore, but what we know about Metzum is that Metzum is two things in our setup. It's a person and it's an organization.
Doctrine of survival.
Exactly. And Metzum, the person, is not somebody who lives in Metzum, the organization. Metzum, the person, came before. So she is referred to as the prophet in the lore of the system of the game. And Metzum is also the person who perfected the process of metempsychosis. But we are going to elaborate much more on that history as we develop the game.
You could say it now, but then we'll do like the beep.
Because it'll have to be edited.
Spoiler alert.
It'll be classified information and somebody will read and so on. That doesn't work. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, thank you very much for all your good answers. Now, we're at the end of our first vlog. And as mentioned, this is a new format for us. We hope you liked it. And don't hesitate with just sharing your feedback on what you want to see more of, what you think works really, really great. Also, of course, remember to like us, share the video with all your friends, your neighbors, and everyone you know and you meet on the street to share the good word. That will really help us on the game. Also, follow us on all the channels, YouTube, Reddit, of course, our Discord. And with that, thank you very much for viewing. And as we say always, better preserve us.
Us, them, us.
Everyone.
Everyone.